Hi everyone, and welcome to this new Instagram live video. I'm Giuliano Bifolchi, research manager at SpecialEurasia. I'm waiting for my colleagues and the other guests of this Instagram live video, Silvia, Boltuc and Matteo Meloni. And let's wait for them and also to discuss our project, geopolitical risk of Eurasia, and also our media agency. So let's wait for them. Probably Matteo is with us. Hi Matteo. Oh, hi Silvia. Hi.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to see you and to have you with us. We are waiting for Matteo Meloni, and after Matteo Meloni will be here with us, we will start this Instagram live video. So let's see if we are lucky to have Matteo. We are trying to overcome some issue. So we are try. So he asks to take part. I'm accepting, but I don't know why I cannot take part with us. So let's try again to invite him. Oh, hi Matteo.
Oh, here we are. Hi everyone. Thank you for your invitation. Thank you. Bye.
Well, it's an invitation, but now you are part of our team, so it's a spoiler. So first of all, thanks to everyone is with us, and we're going to explain a little bit our activities. We are going to provide some and briefly geopolitical risk regarding Eurasia. But first of all, I would like to extend my gratitude, also my greetings to all the people who support SpecialEurasia, our followers. And just a quick introduction, we have Silvia Boltuc. She's the managing director of SpecialEurasia, and now she's also the publisher of SpecialEurasia Media Agency. And we are with us also Matteo Meloni, and Matteo Meloni is the editor-in-chief of SpecialEurasia Media Agency and one of our analysts. Hi, Matteo.
Hi, everyone. Hi again.
So, since I said media agency, I would like just to ask this question and just to clarify and to explain why we decide to establish this media agency and the reason. So the first question is for Silvia, who is the publisher, also, the mastermind of the media agency, and then I will ask to Matteo, since he is a journalist, is experienced, and also used to work in media and communication, why now a new media agency can make the difference, like in this international arena. So Silvia, first of all, your insight regarding the media agency.
Yeah, well, first of all, hi everyone. Thanks for being here. And SpecialEurasia is growing, so we decided also to evolve and to differentiate our products. And of course, we are still an intelligence analysis platform. We still provide reports in the field of geopolitical analysis, but we decided to fill a gap. First of all, because of legal aspects, of course, of our company and platform, we were not allowed. We had a limit of publication each day, which was a huge limit for us. We wanted to publish more, and this is just one of the reasons. During our activities, we conducted many interviews. Sometimes it was difficult to fit the interviews, for example, in our structure, which was more analytical, and then we wanted to host, for example, international experts, but sometimes they were not from the analytical field, but from the academic field, or maybe journalists, and it was always complicated because we are analysts, but of course we have relation and interviews and contacts with different realities. So we decided to maintain our core, which is an analytical core, but of course to evolve and to differentiate our products. So we will host more interviews, more international experts, journalists from the academic field and from our field, of course. And we want, of course, to share more information, also news. We also realize that when there is a crisis, maybe like the last in my mind is the Syrian crisis, it's also important, to share as fast as possible the news and not always to look at the greater picture to make the analytical process, but sometimes just to share information as much as possible. So we wanted to have both these products, and for this reason we decided to launch also the media outlet.
Thanks, Silvia. Just to remind that we will share more information, but we will keep our structure as a report, because for us what is important just to, also to try to explain the reason why we are reporting some information and why this information matters. Because usually in intelligence analysis and geopolitics, the main questions that people ask us, how can you select the news, the information? And we try also to select for our followers, our partners, our clients, the news, and to say, okay, keep this news is really important, so monitor the news, monitor these activities, and we are going to explain why this kind of people information is important. So Matteo, you are the editor-in-chief for our media agency, and just some information regarding your background. If I'm not mistaken, you also worked for a while for Farnesina, which is the Foreign Affairs Minister of Italy. If I'm not mistaken, in the field of media communication or press release, and you have a long career in journalism and also in geopolitical analysis for different media outlets and magazines. And now you are part of our team. You will be the editor-in-chief. So your view regarding how geopolitics Eurasia and your experience can fit together in this world.
It looks something very big said like that. So I'm very happy and humbled to receive this occasion and to try to help you in somehow in this project. It's very interesting, as you know. I have already several times told you that I really love the SpecialEurasia project, and I think that in this time, especially during these last 3 years, we have faced several problems in the geopolitical arena that sometimes couldn't be gapped by the normal newspapers and journalist area. So I think that, with this media agency, and keeping in mind that we are a project, I say we, of course, now, we are a project that is always releasing reports that are very, very interesting, but also, on point. I really do believe that those things can fit together in the best way. As Silvia said, surely now there's another occasion for SpecialEurasia too, to publish more during the week and during the days, of course, with interviews, with news analysis. We have somehow a more open project right now. I do believe that this is the best idea and the best field to follow, so that we can also help people to better understand what is happening in this crazy world.
Thanks, Matteo. So, okay, we presented our media agency, but what matters is geopolitical risk in Eurasia. So, as we promised, we try to briefly provide an overview regarding probably our region, our expertise, or our future projects regarding SpecialEurasia. So I don't want to, to take all the time, so I will leave the time before to Silvia and then to you, Matteo, also what you are going to follow, to investigate, to analyze, and then I go back and provide some geopolitical risk also regarding some area related to the Caucasus, Central Asia and terrorism. But regarding Silvia, since you are also in charge of the project Persian Files, that you have conducted for probably more than a couple of years or something like that. So your just and your point of view, also an update regarding Persian Files, regarding Iran and your investigations.
Yeah, well, of course, my primary goal will be to continue investigate the Persian Gulf area, which means Iran as my primary focus, but of course also the other Gulf countries and the entire area, how they interact together. And of course, for me, it's very important. I realize that on international media, there's a lot about the geopolitics of these countries, about foreign affairs, but there's less about, for example, infrastructure, economy, and bilateral agreement, these kind of things. So I think definitely that I will focus more on free economic zones, international and regional corridors, infrastructure, and I think I will, of course, beside deepening also the geopolitics of the countries, maybe also a little bit more give an insight about even the internal politics, not just the international affairs, and to try to share a light about this very difficult country to understand, and of course about the area. And then they have the area that we, as SpecialEurasia, have always monitored, like the Caucasus, particularly for me the South Caucasus, and thanks to your knowledge, Giuliano, the North Caucasus, or the Russia Caucasus, as many people call it, and Central Asia, which is still I think a vital area to monitor, particularly as European. We saw this terrorist trend coming from Central Asia, but not only. Of course, it's also an area of important investment coming from our countries. So I think this will remain our main area. And I don't want to spoiler, but we are going also to start a project in the future about Afghanistan. Maybe Giuliano can share a little bit more information about that. And so we will share more information also more in depth about the dynamic regarding this country. In general, we will remain focused on Eurasia and the Middle East as we had before, and we also sometimes share some information about Africa when it's needed, when we think that it is impacting also the country we are covering.
Thanks, Silvia. But when you say geopolitics and special economic zone or economy regarding Iran, Iran is, sometimes during our training courses, we use Iran just to prove, to show how geography matters for countries. So if we look at Iran, Iran has some pro and cons of some constraints and imperatives that usually in geopolitics we say. And a positive aspect is that Iran has direct access to the sea, has ports, and try to improve, to enhance the ports, to create also special economic zone in these ports. And if we look in neighboring area, Central Asia, always a constraint for Central Asia is the fact that all the countries of Central Asia are landlocked and they don't have direct access to the sea. So in this case, it was interesting because in the last year, but also in the last months, Silvia investigated bilateral relations between Iran and Central Asian countries, also between Iran and Afghanistan, which is another country, a landlocked country, and how Iran can provide to these countries, an access to the direct sea. But there is a big but that always we underline the fact that unfortunately the geopolitical risk represented by the sanctions and by the situation in the Middle East. So Silvia, if you want to share something more or your opinion, you visited Iran, you visited some infrastructure in Iran, some economic zones. Also, you were probably, among few people who reported regarding the Chinese bridge built in Iran. If you want to give us some more information also for our audience, for our followers.
Yes.
And then I will move to Matteo.
Yes, of course, starting from the Persian Gulf Bridge, I was honored to be one of the few people who had visited it while it was still in construction. It is still in construction. And I was actually quite surprised that many people didn't even know that there is this project, which is a huge one. And
which area?
Represents
which region?
This is from the Geshm island to of course, to the Iran itself, to the continental part, and it's called the Persian Gulf Bridge. And they refer to China because China has a very huge knowledge about huge bridges, so this kind of mega infrastructure. And it was quite interesting because Geshm was a free economic zone. I was visiting the free economic zone actually when I found out about this bridge. And I realized how much, actually not the current government. The current government is just continuing a path already established by the Raisi government. The Raisi government was really, really focusing on economic. which is, I think, less covered compared to how much they were focusing, for example, in geopolitics with, with groups like Hezbollah to Syria or Hamas. Mainly the news they cover in this stuff, proxy groups. But regarding the economy, there is a lot to say, I think, and it's very interesting because it represents the future of the country, particularly now in this uncertain situation with what happened in Syria and Gaza. I think that this will give us a clue of what is going to do Iran in the future. And of course, as you said, I will continue and visit these areas, and thanks to a constant work, I established many relations also with maritime authorities of several ports, with authorities of free economic zones. So I will be able, and I was able already, to visit some, and I will share this information with our audience, of course.
Thanks, Silvia. Thanks. Just, a quick reminder that today there was an official visit of the Iranian President Pezeshkian to Tajikistan. He met with Emomali Rahmon, the President of Tajikistan, and this proved again how Iran can be fundamentally important for these countries, and also how Central Asian republics needs to balance between Russia, China, the West, but also regional local actors like Iran or like Turkey, also Turkey, which is becoming probably not a regional actors, but an international player. But moving to Matteo, so Matteo is our editor-in-chief, but he has his expertise, and I will say, if I can say your expertise, European Union, but also United States. So we select Matteo. Matteo, of course, we select like this because of expertise, because also he can support us or counterbalance with the knowledge with the Western institution, Western powers. So we discussed like future works for Matteo, and Matteo is really expert like USA domestic and foreign policy, but also is going to investigate EU foreign policy in Eurasia. So some insights from you, Matteo, for our audience.
Yeah, I thought it could have been very interesting to make insights between the relationship that is still ongoing between the European Union and also the Asian countries, especially because the name of the project is SpecialEurasia. So I think that this is like the very idea that fits all together. But Asia is at the utmost importance right now. But I see Europe especially as very fragile. It looks like a clay pot between two iron pots. So it's like the United States and China. So we don't have to see Asia only regarding China, of course, but regarding also several other state actors that are very important in today's geopolitics, such as India, of course, South Korea, Japan right now, and also considering structures and organizations such as the ASEAN or the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So, for all these reasons, I do believe that Europe should see Asia as a partner somehow, and not just focusing on the United States, especially right now. There is, of course, everything changing with the new tenure of Donald Trump is not like starting in those days, and we already saw what happened during the first 4 years of Donald Trump in the White House. So maybe someone could say like, okay, but nothing really changed with Mr. Biden, and that could be also true, but if nothing changed before, everything changed during the last 4 years, especially after how can I say, the Ukrainian issues, the Palestinian and Gaza Israeli issue. So there's several things that we have to take into consideration when analyzing the relationship between the European countries, but also with the other players. So if the European Union wants to focus on the United States and not seeing Asia as a strategic and very important area and region to develop its interests, I mean, there's no future for the European Union, I do believe. So that's very important to understand how it wants to develop. For example, during the 4 years of Donald Trump, the European Union has already started a strategic partnership with China. It wanted to develop this strategic partnership with China towards, and focusing on the comprehensive agreement on investment that especially Angela Merkel has supported during its year, the years as a Kanzlerin. But after the end of her age as a Kanzlerin, we also saw what happened with Russia that has invaded Ukraine, with China that was focusing on, the issue of the Uyghur people in Xinjiang, that, the United, I was saying the United States, but also the European Union believe that now there is happening a genocide. So everything changed also in this way. And so I do believe that it's very interesting to understand how the European Union is going to develop its interests and also its focus on other countries of the Asia continent.
Thanks, Matteo. Just to remind to our followers that just a couple of days ago we published a report written by Ricardo Rossi regarding Indonesia, regarding investment opportunities, also the fact that Indonesia is trying to adopt a multilateral economic policy, trying to attract foreign direct investments, but not only from China, United States, and Japan, but also from other countries. But of course, geopolitics matters, and also the geographical location of countries matters. So sometimes, even though the government would like to establish a multilateral and balanced foreign policy and economic policy, is not always possible because of some constraints and imperatives, as we said before. Also, regarding the Afghanistan project, it's something that we are trying to activate. As you know, we always focused our attention on Afghanistan, particularly after the USA troops withdrawal from the country and the Taliban rise to power. Why? Because, there are many interests, first among all, the natural resources of the country. And also, we try to focus on the fact that terrorist organizations, terrorist groups are active in Afghanistan, first among all, Islamic State, Wilayat Khorasan. So we are going to produce a new report regarding jihadist propaganda, but also regarding the country, Afghanistan. And we try to do this also involving Afghan experts, Afghan citizens, and try to provide more information with this new project. Information that are not just related to the, domestic politics and economy, also regarding the culture. The reason is we believe that unfortunately many times governments, particularly Western government, but also in the past the Soviet government, they made mistakes because they didn't completely understand Afghanistan. And there is a big misunderstanding regarding Afghanistan, regarding the ongoing situation. And we try just to do this also because we believe that in a Eurasian geopolitics, Afghanistan still matters, particularly now that the Chinese are close to reach some deals regarding mining exploitation, particularly for rare earth in Afghanistan, and this can be an alert for the USA administration, particularly under Trump, and also because in Russia they are thinking to, to consider the Taliban not anymore as member of the terrorist organization, and they are trying to cooperate more with the Taliban. So the fact is that we have two international actors which are antagonists of USA, China and Russian Federation, which are really involved in the Taliban's foreign policy and economy. And we are really curious to see under Trump administration,
actually,
what will happen?
There was also another curious development, at least for me, that the Afghan leadership, they call Iran, they ask Iran to cooperate more, more closely, which is very actually surprising, given that the two countries has several issues. Not least, of course, the issue because of the Taliban attitude towards the Hazara, the Shia minority inside the country. But the Taliban authorities, they asked Iran, they said we should cooperate more closely, even, somehow against the Western world. So some kind, of opposite part to the Western world.
Thanks, Silvia. See, we have this this idea or this impression that the Taliban are trying to, to differentiate probably their foreign policy, and also to try to engage with more regional actors, just because, of course, they didn't respect the Doha agreements. And now that Trump will be again the USA president, if you have more economic partners for the USA, it will be not so easy probably to, I don't know, to advocate for, I don't want to say new military intervention in Afghanistan, but some specific action, also some more sanctions, or I don't know, some diplomatic action. So it will be really, really interesting what the Taliban they are going to do. But if we talk about Afghanistan, probably we should talk with you about Syria, because what happened in Syria in the last month was huge, was very, very important. We followed the events, we produced some reports regarding Syria, some intelligence briefing, and then intelligence summary reports. And, I don't want to influence both of you. So your opinion about Syria. First, I will start with Silvia and then with Matteo. Probably regarding Syria, I don't know, Silvia, if you want to share also your opinion regarding Iran, what will do Iran? Should recalibrate the foreign policy?
Oh, well, of course, it has to. I mean, I think it already started not just with the fall of Syria, but with the fall of the helicopter of Raisi and the foreign minister of Iran, because the foreign minister of Iran was Amir Abdullahian was he was called the architect of the Iranian foreign policy. He was like the person in charge, to talk to all these groups, to Hamas, to Hezbollah, and to mediate between Iran, between the country itself, the institution, and these groups. So I think, indeed, when the helicopter fall, I thought that actually Amir Abdullahian could be more the target even than Raisi itself, than the president itself. Anyway, the fall of Syria was a huge problem because Hezbollah, of course, it was the path through which Iran was delivering its material. It could be the army, it could be weapons, it could be fuel, it could be other stuff to this proxy group. And for this reason, they have to reorganize. I think they had to reorganize also because they lost the leadership of these groups. Also, there have been some, I don't want to be too much specific, but they have also some issue recently with some disagreement with Russia. Russia, because of the war with Ukraine, is getting closer with some allies, regional allies like Azerbaijan, and they have different views regarding, for example, the corridor which is running through Armenia. And recently there was some kind of friction between Iran and Russia because of the Russian support to Azerbaijan. Iran was against. And so it's not just Syria, it's just, I think, the region which is changing. The growing power of Turkey, which of course Iran cannot welcome for obvious reason. And it's complicated. And I think more than all these things, we have a president, Pezeshkian, now in Iran, which is not the strong president. It is not the kind of president who was the ideal one in this moment. At least this is what my Iranian colleague told me. He's more the president, for mediation, for urban relation with the Western world, not for a period of war or of this kind of geopolitical
Let's say
episode.
he's really unlucky because when he started, before he started being the president, Israel killed Hamas political leader, and then Israel killed Hezbollah leader, Nasrallah, and then there was this serious crisis and what happened in Syria. So he's not lucky. Let's say this.
And I think he was not prepared to being president. He was not prepared. I think he has good potential, but of course this is a very difficult period. I think that no one could do perfectly right now in Iran because it's very difficult. They have to reorganize. They have also to think what will be the future of the country, because I also read a lot about cutting relation or at least diminishing the relation with this proxy group, that Iran is not so interested anymore, in founding this group. So things are changing. So the path that Iran will have in the future might be very different from the previous one.
Thanks, Silvia. What is interesting, usually Silvia say we talking about the Iranians and the Persians. So she's so inside the Persian files that she say we. This is really interesting. But
Yeah,
regarding Matteo,
I was referring to my
yeah,
Iranian
yeah,
colleagues, of course, not to the
of course,
country, but
it
we
was
often,
just
share like opinion, and for me, it's very important, of course, to have also the opinion inside the country and not just Eurocentric, view.
of
Absolutely.
course, it was just a
I know,
geopolitical joke, so
I
to
know.
say. But with Matteo, we always discussed it, this attitude also European Union to try now to have a dialogue, a conversation with the leader of Hayat al-Sham, al-Julani, who changed his name after, he changed at the beginning his clothes, then his look, his appearance, and now his name is probably the complete metamorphosis of the leader. But according to you, what European Union is doing or approach to the Syrian crisis, the Syrian situation.
Looks like an old game. We always try to be friends of several leaders of the area close to us. I have to remember and to remind all of you what happened to Gaddafi in Libya in its Jamahiriya, what has happened to Mubarak in Egypt, or what is happening right now with Assad in Syria. They all were somehow, I don't want to say close allies, because it were not close allies, of course, but they were leaders with which the European countries, but also other state actors used to talk and dialogue for reaching agreements and trying to somehow develop a geopolitical view of the area. But now, Assad's fall was so quick that I really do believe that several people wouldn't understand immediately what has happened. And so, if there was somehow a push from outside, in this case, Syria has, faced a very bad civil war for more than 10 years. And the point is that, also the other countries, they were somehow enemy of Syria, had to pressure the Assad government to fall. I was thinking about, the Caesar Act, for example, in the United States, that was somehow blocking everything that could enter inside the country. That was something that could also help the people somehow living a better life. That's not very different from what is happening to the Iranian people that has, several difficulties to reach and to gain things from the outside that also needs for the health of the people. So it's very difficult to understand what is happening right now. I see several Minister of Foreign Affairs going to meet their counterpart in Syria. They are somehow trying to understand how to develop their relationship, but it's not very easy to understand, especially because, as you remember, to all of us, the leader of Syria was a jihadist before. Now he's not anymore a jihadist, as he said several times, but we have to understand what he really is, what he wants to do for his country. He's going to be a republic, he's going to be a democracy, he's going to be, what is going to be Syria. So there's a big change or not? I don't know. It's just a phase change from a side to another one, or there's going to be a huge change in the country. I really wish the best to the Syrians, and I really do understand their joy for the Assad's fall, of course. As a human being, I really do believe that they were cheering because they suffered a lot during the Assad regime. But now we really wish them all the best for the future, because they really deserve it. And I don't really know what is going to happen, especially because the situation is so liquid, and it's very hard to understand what will be this new government.
Yeah, you're completely right. I can agree with you. But also, what was strange regarding European Union was that when the French German Foreign Affairs Minister visited, Damascus, and they went to meet the new transitions government, the leader of Hayat al-Sham, before they try also to dictate some rules. So they say that Syria had to expel the Iranians and the Russians from the territory, but just a few days ago, the Russian agreed with Giuliani or Shara, we can call as we want, they just reached an agreement that they will keep the military bases on the coast, at least until now. We don't know in the future, but until now. So the fact is that the European Union just tried to bargain like a geopolitical influence in the country with the sanction, lifting the sanction. So it was probably an early bad move by European Union, because after just 1 week try to impose, you know, your ideas and also your rules in a new country, a new leadership. And I would like just to remind that all the world was looking at this new leadership, and a new leadership which has also to, to have relations with the neighboring countries, and particularly with Turkey. So it was, according to me, what European Union represented by the French, the German Foreign Ministry tried to do in Syria. Probably a dangerous move, and I don't know if now they can, try to change. Also because we published a couple of reports regarding Syria, regarding also the consequences of Syria for Central Asia, for the Caucasus, the post-Soviet space. What is really peculiar, let's say this, is that among the defense system apparatus of the new Syria, several foreign fighters, militant, jihadists, we can call as we want, because now they changed the nomenclatura, like they changed like the name, and they are first of all from Tajikistan, and we wrote a report a couple days ago. Another one, his name there is Al-Dagestani. This means that he's from the North Caucasus, the Dagestan Republic. And this means that probably these people, they will control, a huge group of fighters. They will also control the military apparatus or part of the military apparatus. And they can also attract other foreign fighters in Syria. So my question now is if Syria will become another Afghanistan, in the way that there will be some training camps, training centers for I don't know, Al-Qaeda or other terrorist groups. And if this group then, they will try to export this kind of, or their ideology or violent attacks to Central Asia, to the Caucasus, and to the neighboring country. So this is, for us, a higher geopolitical risk regarding Syria. And unfortunately, the geopolitical game is really important now that, some countries, particularly in the West, they are not considering the consequences of the situation on the ground, because it's really strange, it's really rare that, okay, Al-Jurani can change. Let's say that he can change, but thousands of fighters, they completely will change their mentality, their ideology.
Let's not forget that there is still a part of Syria under the control of the Islamic State, a very small part, but there is still, and there is a huge prison with all the families, of Islamic State members. And I'm asking also, what will be the future of this prison? What will these people do? Will be freed, or I don't know. So it could be really dangerous. And for us as European, I think even the relation with some Eurasian actors is not just Russia, because I always feel Russia when it comes to Syria, but we have also to consider Turkey. It couldn't be possible without the foundings and the support of Turkey. What happened, the fall of Assad and the success of these groups. And right now, as he did in the past, Erdogan is again blackmailing Europe with the excuse of the refugees coming from Syria, saying that he expected more money coming from the European Union to stop these refugees. So it's like going back in the history and watching again the same old story that is repeating itself. And we have Israel, who bombed Syria and has, not that welcoming attitude towards Al-Jolani. We have Turkey involved. We have the issue of the Kurds, which right now is changing because Erdogan, of course, now wants to get rid of the Kurds. So I am also asking myself, when Europe is going there, talking with this leader, is Europe also thinking about all these dynamics? Because we're talking about Israel, who is an ally. I'm talking about Turkey, which is a NATO country, but still there are some human rights issues over there, and they're talking about the involvement of ethnic minorities, of women in the government, that Al-Jurani even refused to shake hand with, for example, with Baerbock, the German minister. So I don't know. Frankly speaking, I don't think that this person is trustworthy, but I hope I'm mistaken.
Thanks, Silvia. Apart from this, let's say that if we analyze geopolitical risk, and what we do usually, so geopolitical risk means all the events that can cause a conflict, an economic crisis, and political turmoil. And unfortunately, there are all the preconditions for for all these factors, all these events. So let's see what will happen. We will continue monitoring, of course, Syria and the entire Middle East region, because in the last year and a half, the Middle East region, unfortunately became again, really important, not just for the news, but for the entire international arena. After years of silence, probably, the situation of the Palestinians, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, was not mentioned by international media agencies, also by international experts for years. And after October 7th, 2023, everyone started talking about the Middle East and what happened in Palestine and in Israel, and then also. And in the last year, let's say that the Middle East proved again that the geopolitical risk is really high, and also that the situation can change suddenly in the area. Just because we promised this, so we say that we will provide some information regarding our training courses and also how to get a specific discount. So it's so simple. If you register to our newsletter, it's free newsletter. You can register on our website. Every time that we publish an online course on open source intelligence or in a geopolitical intelligence analysis, for our subscribers, there is a discount, a special discount for every course. So if you are one of our subscribers and our newsletter, you will get this discount. And usually we remind to our subscribers a couple of times before the course started. And there is a code, and if you apply this code if you want to join and to take part of this course, you will have the discount. Usually it's 20% of discount. And also then we have our policies that if you are, if you participate in one of our courses, we have more discounts, and a higher discount, because we try also to reward people who believe in our training. So we have two upcoming courses now. One is on February, the 15th of February, and it's about geopolitical intelligence analysis. It is one of our most famous and popular course. So we had a lot of participants, a lot of people, good feedback. The course aims to provide the fundamentals and the basics, not about geopolitics, but how to, realize a geopolitical forecasting, a geopolitical report, how to provide a geopolitical risk. There is, the first part is a theoretical approach, just a small part about theory. And then we will provide some insights and some methodologies how you can build your geopolitical framework to understand the events and to provide reports for the decision-making process, because our main focus is always the decision-making process. And the second course is about open source intelligence in the Russian-speaking world. This means that we are going to provide a course regarding open source intelligence also for those people that are not familiar with the Russian language. So we will help them to overcome the language barrier, providing vocabulary, providing some services, providing also some methodologies. And this will help future analysts or seasoned analysts to overcome the problem of the language, or the problem also to understand sources coming from the Russian-speaking world. Doesn't mean just Russia, but all the world where Russian is spoken. So this means the post-Soviet space, in general, the post-Soviet space. So if you want the discount, it's so simple. You have to become a subscribers, our newsletter, and you will get at the end of this week or the next week another email with the code, the discount code. So I want to close this Instagram live just with one question. You know, according to you, Silvia and Matteo, probably in this year, geopolitical risk of this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is a difficult
If you
question.
want, I can start. So you will have the time because
Okay.
I'm the person who has the question, so I can start. So
Yeah.
also just
I just
related to
can say I cannot imagine a worse year than the one has just passed. So I hope it will be
well,
that.
well, who knows? Who knows? But it could be just also geopolitical risk related just to
Yeah.
your area. Expertise, not a problem. But according to me, one could be again artificial intelligence. How the world will face artificial intelligence, also the threats coming from artificial intelligence. So this means that artificial intelligence can create fake videos and disseminate to the web, and people can believe in this video, and this can, or can push people against the authorities, against the government. Also, the use of artificial intelligence for in operation, in military operation, or in a strategic communication operation. The other one is cybersecurity. We cover cybersecurity related particularly to Ukraine conflict, but we would like to cover more because cybersecurity, cyber attacks are really important. We are from Italy, and in the last days we witnessed what does it mean when you are under attack, under cyber attack, and the cybersecurity environment will really impact the future and the geopolitical risk. Particularly, probably I feel that we will experience more cyber operation and cyber attacks against institutions, against the big companies, and I will keep always terrorism. Sorry, probably it's my mentality, but we didn't defeat the terrorist groups, and I believe that Islamic State and will increase its activities, not just in Afghanistan, in Africa, but particularly also in the Middle East. So, Silvia, what about you?
Well, yeah, I think there will be some aftershocks, like after an earthquake, because I think that there is a new reality on the ground in different area in the Middle East, in Eurasia, in Ukraine, in several regions for Iran now because of Syria. So I think there will be some aftershocks because there'll be a new balance have to be created, and of course this also opens some opportunities, not just positive opportunities, like for example the one that is trying to obtain Europe in Syria, but it will also open some opportunity from this a terrorist group, as you mentioned. I recently read an article, I'm sorry I don't remember where, but some expert, I think American experts, interviewing people officially belonging to the Taliban or some militia or some radicalized people in Afghanistan and in Syria. They reported that they are declaring to belong to some group, while actually they are part of Al Qaeda, of the Islamic State, but they're not mentioning it. They don't want to say it. Maybe they declare to be Taliban and so on. So I think there are some groups are reorganizing. This is a trend that we already observed previously to the fall of Assad. Like, for example, Al Qaeda in Afghanistan, there were some very dangerous reports coming concerning reports coming from Afghanistan, and also that there were some allegations according to which Iran was hosting some operative of Al Qaeda. So I think I quite agree with you that we will witness our resurgence in terrorism, even like a new one coming from Central Asia, or at least this new growing trend, and because of these aftershocks. So new balances. I think Syria will remain one of the main countries to monitor, even because I was quite surprised actually that this happened now, because Assad was still welcomed again in the Arab League. So I'm quite curious also to see what will happen inside the Arab League, because I think it was not really, they didn't foresee this coming. So they welcome again Assad. They were, pushing some kind of strategy, and then everything happened. So there are changing dynamics even then. Egypt is not our primary area since we cover Eurasia, but I think it's still important to say that Al-Sisi is very concerned about what he witnessed in Assad. They are fearing like a trend like the Arab Springs, maybe not that big, but like a domino effect. And of course, Ukraine. We will have then in the US, we will have Trump and how Trump will change his approach towards Europe, what will decide Europe even regarding, to have an European army or to grow the weapon fabric and so on. I mean, there's a lot going on right now. So I think this will be a year where there is a huge geopolitical risk, particularly because of these aftershocks of this new balance that this new reality established on the ground.
Okay, Silvia, thanks. So you terrify all the audience. Thanks for. So you terrify all the audience. There is a comment before I read the comment. Then I will ask also to Matteo, not save Matteo, but there is a comment from Uzbekistan, Italia. And they say that in his view, also we should consider Italy because something can happen also in Italy. Let's say that, of course, in Italy, particularly in Rome, there is a big event for the Christians, which is the Jubileum, and all the authorities are really, however, about the fact that it could be a target of terrorist or violence groups, and this could be one geopolitical risk to face, like a terrorist attacks against the Christianity against in Rome, where millions of believers of Christian people are gathering together to celebrate the Jubileum. The other aspect would be the, Meloni's government. That's if will survive or not, because there are some pressures. Even though in international arena, it seems that this Italian government is really welcome by in international arena. And now, Matteo, I would like to ask you geopolitical risk. You can talk about Europe, or you can talk also your area of expertise. Also regarding the United States. So some people say that we will witness a civil war in the United States.
That was actually thinking. I mean, in my opinion, it has a name and a surname. The biggest geopolitical risk of 2025 is Donald J. Trump. Not because he's going to do something very bad doing this 4 years, but maybe in the future, because we don't know what's going to happen after this new tenure of Donald Trump. Maybe he's going to change the constitution for the third term. We don't know. Maybe it's going to change politics somehow in a way that it would be something very different from now and from what we have experienced till now. Or we're going to have the effects like a wave in the near future, like we have experienced after his tenure in the last 4 years and with Mr. Biden, that has somehow to share the burden of what Mr. Trump has done. I was thinking about the JCPOA from which the Trump administration has withdrawn. I was thinking about, all the disengagement from the United Nations. I was thinking about all the power they has given to, Saudi Arabia, for instance. The Khashoggi case, for example, was one of the biggest and most discussed of the period. But everything was like a wave that has impacted to Mr. Biden, and you pay the consequences of Mr. Trump's policy from 2000. I don't remember anymore, 2016 until 2019.
When?
So, and 20, yes, and 20. So I do believe that it's going to be very hard for each of us in the near future, just because, Mr. Trump is going to change politics in a way that we cannot even imagine. Also with the help of for example, Mr. Musk is going to be a player in the new administration. So let's see what's gonna happen. But democracy is at risk. I think it's at stake a lot of things.
I will also do say, which sometimes we are so focusing on Eurasia that I forget what is going on in my continent, in Europe. We will have now in February the election in Germany, which I think will be very important. We are witnessing the growing support to AfD, which is a right-wing party, and what for me was, this is the reason why I'm talking about that, because you mentioned Elon Musk. Elon Musk has 2 or 3 days ago X interview on former Twitter with Weidel, which is the representative of AfD. So my perception was that Musk was trying to convince the people to vote for AfD, was like giving the support to this party. So I see like a new trend in Europe. I'm not the only one. Many right-wing parties, and not just right-wing, but with one specific, with specific strategies and ideas which are growing in Europe. And I think this will also create new foreign policy even for Europe itself. We don't have anymore German as the leading country. We are now trained by 2 representatives, one from Polish and one from the Baltic. So this also changed our perspective regarding our attitude to some country like Russia and other countries in Eurasia. So this is also very interesting to monitor, I think.
Thanks, both of you. Thanks for sharing your your ideas of geopolitical risk. However, also to remind to our audience that what is really important and matter in geopolitics is following the elections, parliamentary elections or presidential elections. Why? Because a change in the government can change also the foreign policies, domestic policies, and the economic policy in a country. And if we provide consulting and for decision-making process, this means that could be government, but could be also companies and investors. And when there is a change in the government, when the governance is not strong anymore or change, this means that also the market can be impacted. So it is really important. This year there will be election, for instance, in India. There will be election in Belarus, even though many people say that, probably Lukashenko will be again elected as the president. And Lukashenko last day stated that, promoting his electoral program, he stated that he sees the partnership with Russia should be stronger, particularly in the security field, the military field. And we also know that, Belarus is hosting some Russian military hardware and equipment on its territory. This could be, another geopolitical risk for the entire Europe and for the entire Asia. So there will be also election in Moldova after the presidential election and the referendum regarding EU membership. We passed some elections in post-Soviet spaces like Central Asia in the last years, but this really matters. And so to sum up, what we say is really important when we analyze the region. What we try to do is to assess if the governance is strong or weak, if the economic, the markets and the economic environment can have some shocks or can have some right policies to attract foreign direct investments, and also the security situation. Terrorism, unfortunately, is one of the main threats, and also the conflicts. Because we cannot forget that, conflicts are always right on the corner, and we can have conflicts in every place of the world. And also, we don't cover a lot Africa, but let's say that, international actors are really competing each other for Africa, and Syria is connected with Africa. If you think that the Russian bases in Syria are really, really fundamental for the logistics of Russia with the PMC, paramilitary companies in Africa, and if Russia will lose these military bases, Turkey will replace or can replace Russia PMC in Africa. And also there are the Chinese, the Europeans are trying to go back to Africa, but, with not a complete success. So we will face a year of, let's say, moderate and high geopolitical risk. I hope that you will be with us following what will happen, and you will, trust us again for our reports. And I remind you, if you become, if you subscribe to our newsletter, you will have a discount for our training courses in open source intelligence, geopolitical intelligence analysis. And, I would like to thank Silvia and Matteo to be with us and for their insight, their view. And I wish you good night, good evening, or no, good morning if you are on the other side of the world. And thanks for being with us. And let's stay in touch. And I would like to have you for the future Instagram Live, probably focus or workshop focusing more on a specific region. Thanks and bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.